Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa Snow and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. I'm your host, Greg Phelps, and joining me once again is dementia care expert Teepa Snow. Another week, another headline: dementia not the same as Alzheimer's. Research shows dementia is an insulin problem, has been renamed type 3 diabetes. Are these type of headlines that we see frequently helpful or hurtful in your job?
Well, people always want an answer. They want to know what's causing this. So if I know what causes it, then we could figure out how to fix it, right? And so all these headlines get people all stirred up frequently or excited about the possibility of a cure, the possibility of understanding it and then being able to fix it. So if it's type 3 diabetes, then if we give them insulin and it's like, yeah, we've tried that. Yeah, that's been on the books for a while. I mean, nasal insulin, we've done it, tried to get it across the blood-brain barrier, not in the bloodstream because your system can't handle that much glucose management. It just, what ends up happening is it doesn't work the way we want it to. It's not a quick fix. And the more I know about the bench research and the scientists doing this, people have theories and ideas, and it takes a while to go from I have an idea, I have a hypothesis, let me check it out, and bits and pieces of it may fit, but this thing we call a brain and how it does what it does and runs the body too is pretty remarkable, and it's really complicated. And in my book, so these quick fix ideas are like false hope. And I hate people getting false hope. I really do.
The explanations you use when you're talking either in one of our Zoom classes or to a large group, you try and explain some of the brain functions, but you break it down into understandable bites, because what we have up here is a remarkable thing, and yours isn't the same as mine,
It's
which is probably a
amazing. I
good
mean,
thing.
yeah. I mean, the wiring of it, the chemical structures of it, the electrical pieces of it. I mean, just what it's capable of, and yet how vulnerable it is, and what people think is the case. And then we try it out, and it's like, oh, that's another layer of complexity I hadn't thought about. And it ends up being like they thought they had a cascade that was maybe 3 steps. Well, now it's 75, and now it's 115 steps, and things can go wrong at any point along the way. And then you get something a little bit different. So it's like, it's way more complicated because it is complicated. I mean, there's just no way around it. It's super complicated.
And still we hear all the time, Alzheimer's, 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 Alzheimer's. Recently on the news, another NFL star announced diagnosed with Parkinson's. I'm not going to sort of go into the whole story there,
Yep.
but we're discovering things that affect us in ways that we had never anticipated.
Right. And I
Drugs,
think if,
alcohol,
yeah,
cigarettes,
cigarettes, I mean, we start
life.
doing something, we think this will be better for us. And it's like, moderation in all things, and not everything is good for everybody. I mean, some people can smoke their whole lives, never get cancer. Some people can have a few cigarettes and it triggers the onset. I mean, and so we're very complicated creatures. And what I'd say is this idea of brain change is going to really be super complicated to try to resolve. And even if we keep someone from getting the famous Alzheimer's, that is not one condition. It turns out there's multitudes of types and forms of the specifics of Alzheimer's, even, and how it might initiate itself and move forward. Ultimately, it results in a thing that looks a lot like Alzheimer's and has a big component of, boy, you'll see a lot of beta amyloid plaque formations. Boy, you'll see a lot of tau pathologies. And it will tend to be in this part of the brain first and then this part of the brain. But that's an end point. That's not how it all starts. And so tracking back to see, oh, glial cells, oh, they have a role. Oh, the blood-brain barrier, oh, viral things, oh, they have a, but not for you. huh, interesting. And then we have Lewy body and frontal temporal, and we've got different kinds of proteins. And some people are saying the proteins are the second step in the major step in the process, major chunk of change in the process. Before that, you have some housekeeping problems going on. So, Greg, who would have thought housekeeping is the main issue?
It's an
Inflammation,
issue in our household.
irritation. Yeah,
Teepa,
keep your house up. You keep your house up, but then you get too much bleach, and you have too much bleach, and then that's not good. And then you put ammonia. Oh boy, that's a bad idea. So, but when you're trying to clean the house, sometimes you get too ambitious. Just sort of like when you try to clean your teeth and you scrape off all the enamel. That's not a good thing. Or
we run into people in our lives
balance.
that we call fixers. They want to fix mom. They want to fix dad. They want to know everything. But personally, I would steer them towards dealing with the process, because knowledge is wonderful, but it's not going to be the problem you're actually dealing with.
And so for me, absolutes don't exist. I mean, I just don't believe in always or never. I mean, it's like rarely and mostly, and I hope so, but I can never say never. I mean, I'll try occasionally, then it's like, oh yeah, no, well, no, not in that situation. So for me, learning how to cope with uncertainty and learning how to cope with the moment and learning how to think ahead to, if this is happening here, ooh, let's go check the other room and see what's going on over there. Because when I see something, my brain gets curious, but it gets curious to find out more, to stay curious until I get to a place where it's like, well, let's try something and see what happens. Not here's the fix, but here, let's try something and see what happens, because I've got to be open to the idea. It may not do anything. It may do something I didn't intend. It may work. But if I'm just into wanting it fixed, I'm going to get super frustrated when it doesn't work. Instead of going, well, that didn't go the way I thought it would. Well, that's unfortunate. So, Greg, I'm wondering if we could, and so then that willingness to sit back for a second and go, okay, huh. And I think that's where people get super frustrated in dementias. They want a cookbook where if I give you the recipe, it works every single time. And it's like, whoever's telling you that is lying. I mean, that's all I can tell you. If they say that's the truth, that's a lie. I don't know how else to say that one, because that's not how it works. Humans are incredibly complicated. Their lives are complicated. Their homes are complicated. Their cars are everything.
If somebody is foundering on the sea of information and disinformation, could they pick up the phone and talk to somebody? Can I email somebody? Can I Zoom with somebody? Because there is help out there.
Yeah. And Greg, you picked up the three major ways we connect. I mean, you can call. We have an 800 type number. You can email, or you could say, I really want to see someone. And if you're in North Carolina and you're Chapel Hill, Durham, Hillsborough, come on over to Snow Approach, because we're actually here in person. Or if you get a chance and I'm out and about, or one of the other PAC folks are, talk with us. I mean, we're present and accounted for as much as we can be to be helpful. Because when this happens, you could watch something and get an idea and say, I want to try something. And sometimes we'll say, hey, Greg, you know what? Take a look at this and let's get back together after you watch it to see what you think. See if it has applicability, because we have a lot of resource material around. Our goal and our role sometimes is to point you toward a couple things and say, look at these two things and let's talk after you look at it. Because people like you need time to look at stuff before you're interested in having a conversation. Whereas
the lady who has a stack of information over her left shoulder about 1.5 feet high, that's your morning reading, I take it.
There's some under my computer too, so it's the right height, just so you know.
Teepa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast, brought to you by Positive Approach to Care. More information on today's program or other dementia topics, go to teepasnow.com.